Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Tarot for Our Times. This is Sarah Sachs, your medium on the go, and this recovery from COVID is taking a little while. I do feel better than I did last week, so that's why I haven't been posting quite as often, but I'm trying to step that up a little bit as I feel a little bit better. So, I will have to say, in going through my favorite YouTube newsy people and other psychics on YouTube, is that it's overwhelming the damage that's been done locally, internationally. It's almost like I don't even know where to begin. So I thought this was telling me to look at the bigger picture, and which is an advantage because it doesn't mean that this has to be that this is so timely. This is something people can watch in the days and weeks ahead just to get a clear understanding of how we got here. The shadow side of capitalism, fame and wealth worship. And today the card is the Ten of Pentacles, which is in its upright form, it's the family business with all generations cooperating. I often think of it as the immigrant opening up the grocery store where the prosperity is built by the family of all ages, whatever the little ones can do to the older ones that give the advice. But when we turn this in reverse, this is the corrupt family, this is the crime family, and this is the flip side to the immigrant experience, where there are a lot of people that become tempted by the poverty and go to the wrong side of the law and build themselves quite an empire. So, of course, I thought of The Godfather, which I know if it were to open up in the neighborhood theater, that people would probably go flocking to it because it hasn't lost its appeal. And I remember when the movie came out, I had spent some time, although I had a 9 to 5 job at that time, I stayed up pretty late a few nights because I couldn't put the book down. And the night before it opened in New York, I think I was up till like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, dragged myself to work, which was at the New York Central building in Manhattan. And when you go down Park Avenue and you see the building with the clock in it, that's where I used to work. So I dashed right out of there across town, because I was on 45th Street, I believe. Ran across town to Times Square to go see the opening. It was like the opening. I don't know if it was the world premiere, but it was the first day it opened in the theaters. And I was very excited to see it, and I was not disappointed. So, this was a time, it was 1972, and I don't want to put all the blame on The Godfather, because there were other movies that did pretty much glorify the mob life, and we no longer had the Hays Code where it just had to the bad guys got there in the end. So of course there's a lot more artistic latitude, and it was interesting to see this because it was a sign of the times. I think if I were to go to the theater and see it again, I probably did the same later, the same reaction wouldn't have been. Where the thing that struck me is the scene where Michael Corleone goes into the little Italian restaurant in the Bronx, gets the gun from behind the toilet, blows away the rival guy Salazzo and the corrupt cop McCloskey. and when as soon as he shot the cop, a big cheer went up in the audience. Now, it was a very mixed audience. There were a lot of young people like me there, and of all different races. I'm not going to put this on any particular one, but that was at a time when relations were pretty tough, and a lot of police corruption through the Knapp Commission was going on, and the NYPD was in pretty bad shape. So I was kind of a little bit surprised at that, but then I wasn't. So that this was kind of putting the hand on the pulse of what was going on. And, you know, it's basically a story, and The Godfather 2 clarifies that, a story about an Italian immigrant who gets married, he starts a family, and he falls into a life of crime because he's not very well educated. Things are very tough. He has to get rid of the guy that's been, you know, terrorizing the businesses for protection, all that sort of thing. It was a very typical immigrant story. And the one thing I learned from living in New York is the Italians had their day, but I remember the Colombians coming in with the drug trade. By the 80s, the Russians were in, and every ethnic group you could name that's been marginalized marginalized group. It was the Westies or the Irish gangs, and they all kind of exist today. They had the Jewish gangs from the Eastern European immigration in the late 1800s. So every single group had their had a certain element of it that went into a life of crime and prospered. So there we have The Godfather glamorizing this, and so that brings me to and I think it was the I've Had It ladies who were saying that the worship of wealth has really gotten out of hand, where we have other crime families that may not have the capos and the this and that sort of thing, but a lot of people have said that the Trump family is a crime family in itself, and it's very very close-knit family. They really have not let any outsiders in, and the thing with all of them, that the excuse they make for murdering people or not letting people, certain races, live in their buildings, like the Trumps, it's business. That's the it's business excuse, and that has so permeated our society that he came along at a time, and a lot of my colleagues, I do have to agree with him, he came along at a time when we had to take, we're paying a big price for it too, we had to take a look at who we are, and part of this is the worship of wealth and fame. And it got to the point it really didn't quite matter how they came to that. I mean, if you look at the legacy of the Trump family, with the grandfather as the draft dodging pimp, and then his father as the ruthless real estate mogul who, I mean, you know, very upfront, did not allow black people to live in his buildings and did get sued by the feds for it. So why should we be so surprised when there's kind of like this de facto, let's let segregation in again and all this sort of thing. So the one thing I will say about this, and history has shown us, that eventually, with a lot of them just kind of, you know, evolve into being legit and maybe become the oligarchs. So, you know, there's that. But there's also a point, and I think we've been seeing this with the Bernie and the AOC rallies, is that it flips from becoming The Godfather to Les Miserables, where it finally occurs to them that, to the masses, that the system is rigged against them. They're never going to be the big shots because this is what they've been fed by the oligarch. Oh, yeah, this could be used someday. So then, as we see our economy trashed and uh, people losing their jobs en masse by an immigrant who has no clue as to how government works, and people, all kinds of, I don't even want to go, all kinds of stuff being taken away from people. You go from, wow, that's really some cool stuff, to sharpen up the blade of Madame la Guillotine, and which is strictly metaphorical. I don't think, I don't think that hopefully history has taught us that when we overthrow something, to not get too carried away with it. But I mean, most modern thing is probably what happened with Russia after the revolution. So we've got all of this going on. So I want to do some readings on where are we at with this now. Like, how fed up, because I see this as a growing movement. Like, where are we now? How fed up are people? Is the tide turning? And then the second thing is, and if it is, I mean, what is going to, what's going to come of it? What kind of changes could we be seeing? Because this oligarch tour is catching traction because they had 35,000 people in Denver yesterday. I don't know how many they have today wherever they are, but I think the tide is turning. So I want to take a look, like where are we going from here? So I will be using a few different decks. So I shuffled our good old friend, the Ten of Pentacles, back into this deck, and I will be using that Moon Garden deck as well. And I did spend some time. Oh, this one is so hard to shuffle, like Las Vegas shuffle. So I've been doing this. So at any rate, we're going to use these two decks and just to see where are we now. Okay, so so right now we are, the Nine of Swords. The Nine of Swords in reverse, which is interesting because that is the card of insomnia. That's telling me that although the crowds are going, this is usually, I would have thought this one might have ended right side up with the woman worrying about what the future is going to be. I'm not so sure that, see, it's not always the opposite thing, so I need to put a, let's see what this, okay, the Devil. Boy, I tell you, that card turns up in all of these things. The energy of the Devil. I would say that while there are a lot of people worrying, they don't start to worry until they see the work of the Devil. Okay, now I get it. Not enough people are worried yet, but it is growing. It's growing, so they have to wait for the Devil to come in. And this is also about, very unflattering, but sorry folks, it is true, is that the people showing buyer's remorse are those types, and those types of Republicans, is that they don't get concerned until it happens to them. So this is where we are. We have to be brutally honest. So underlying this is the Nine of Pentacles. They have to start losing money, losing income, whether it's a loss of job or maybe worrying about losing the Social Security. And then here, perfect for the Devil. So then we have the ill-tempered tyrant, and I guess he is not happy right now. Beneath all of this, let's see what we have coming up. And what a lot of this is saying is that people are still buying the illusion of the happily ever after until it happens to them. So wasn't quite expecting this, but I'm not really surprised. So there is still a core of people hanging on until it happens to them. They have to reach the FO of the FAFO kind of a thing. So let's see, in opposition of this, we have the Empress in reverse. So again, I do love to give a couple different meanings. This is the they're not worried until they have to lose. They have to lose the position that they had. I would also say that this is the weakening of the muskrat and the money that he's been hemorrhaging because of people boycotting and doing all this kind of crazy stuff with the Tesla. But I would say that this is also a triple meaning, is that this is Russia not being as strong as it used to be. I mean, I think he's strong enough to push the felon around, but they're running out of money and resources. So then we have this up here is kind of like the opposition. So let's see what's been going on here. Oops, wrong deck. Let's see what's been going on here in the past. The Four of Wands. Okay. So everybody lived in this illusion that if they were wed to the MAGA group, that one day the prosperity would be theirs. Do we have a castle in? Yep, we got a castle in here. And one day that castle in the distance would be theirs. So this is the worshiping of wealth, of the wealthy, and buying this whole thing like they're what do they call them? The temporarily embarrassed future billionaires or something like that. So that's kind of a hard thing to break until, of course, they lose their jobs. And these go for civil servants, and shame on them, union people that voted for him. So this was the fairy tale. So let's see, subconscious thoughts we have here. The Seven of Cups. Okay, so here we're seeing since this is in reverse, there's some cracks in this. They're starting to not buy into the illusion anymore, as more of them are in the FO part. So that's kind of like the waking up to, they can't throw the smoke and mirrors in front of them the way they used to. And then we have in the subconscious realm is the Ten of Staffs, as they call them, and it's this whole thing of not seeing the forest for the trees. Usually in the other decks, it's the guy carrying all the sticks, but I would say that this is burdensome because we have, here we have the castle in the background, but this, all these trees are starting to hide the view. They could be lost. And they're lost in the forest. That's the whole thing. Subconsciously, they know they've just been that they've been lost and looking for something. So MAGA gave them some promises. They slapped on the red hat and lived in the fantasy. But this is saying that this may be starting to crack now. So let's see. We have got going on in the present a Page of Pentacles, which means that what little they've had, they are losing. They're losing it. This also represents those people that were on the probationary hiring, just about ready to cross the finishing line. Whoops, fired. Okay, so this is what's going on now that could be starting to give them some sleepless nights. So coming up in the not too different future is we have the Queen of Cups, and that's kind of looking into it's very tied in emotions. Looking into what could be happening. In this case, she's afraid to take the lid off of the cup for fear of all of these emotions spilling out that are not too pleasant and having to see the truth. And I would also say that she is the mother, and that with all of these CDC stuff removed is maybe blind a little bit to what could be happening to her children, but she's not going to be able to ignore it for too much longer. So we're going to do hopes and fears. We got the Two of Swords in reverse. That's saying that these people all caught up in the fantasy of how wonderful the rich are and how it's going to all rub off on them. It's they know deep down that it isn't, but they know what they've got to do. Some have taken the blindfold off and they're showing up at those rallies, and they're being hostile for their Republican representatives, of whom I'm sure they voted. But there are some of them that still need to take the blindfold off, but they are not quite ready to go out into the public with all of this. So, and I think this shows the fear of showing that they, in fact, yes, have made up their mind, but the hopes that maybe the Bernie Sanders and the AOCs have something that is worth listening to. So, the outcome of this is the Six of Staffs. I still have to take a close look at this. Okay. The outcome is that still kind of lost in the woods, and yeah, this is in the and yes, that this is the card of victory, but there's only trees there. There are no people. So I would say that this is the oligarchs kind of doing the victory lap, but there's no human life to see them take the victory lap. So this is talking about, this is the hollow victory that they now have of, they they won the election, but so what? Okay, so then I want to do the lesson that we hope they've learned. Okay, the moon. Okay, we've got the moon. This is the dark side of, this is actually the dark side of people being forced to look into the dark reaches of their soul and hopefully maybe take this chance to evolve. So this is really up to people now. This isn't just, being upset because maybe they can't pay the light bill, but that there are a number of them that are going to have to do a lot of soul searching to figure out how did we get here? I mean, how did this I mean, they're scratching, I didn't vote for this, but then having to say, yes, you did. Actually, you did vote for this. So, And it's also taking the veil off of, well, the mafia, mob life isn't that glamorous. People die. People die because, well, it's business after all. So, that comes to the Godfather. We're near the end of the Godfather 1, and Michael, that is one of the most brilliant pieces of editing, is that when Michael is holding his godson to be baptized by the priest and saying, "Do you believe in God?" Then cut to somebody getting rubbed out. "Do you believe in Jesus Christ?" "Yes." Another, the guy gets rubbed out in bed with the girlfriend. And "Do you denounce Satan?" "Yes, I do." And I think that's on the steps with the fake police gunning down the guys coming down. I mean, it's really, really powerful. And that truly is the dark side of capitalism, where the body, there will be body counts. And that's maybe that is what people are starting to see. So, and seeing the tide turning, and maybe people having to do a little bit of self-examination, let's take a look about if this oligarch tour is, I think it's, let's say when it is starting to flip the minds. I mean, what is going to happen as more light bulbs go on? Because I don't need any cards to tell me that this is going to diminish. Whatever threats are made, this just is not going to, this just isn't going to, the numbers are not going to. And if people do get scared to go in the streets, there are other methods at work now with boycotts and all kinds of stuff they can't touch. So, and I will say that all of this is for entertainment purposes only. Let us not forget that. Okay, so I know someone had mentioned that that Trump and the Muskrat and the tech bros in Silicon Valley, they're not exactly dancing in the streets over this victory. They're very they're upset. I mean, we have the Muskrat crying in public and all this sort of thing. And so that doesn't seem to be very celebratory. Okay, so let's see. So as this is starting to increase in number, what is going to be happening? Oops. So let us see. So then we have the Ten of Swords. So there is a big, heavy burden to be taken. I think this is a cautionary note. I think because of health reasons and because I've done I've done plenty of street time, people like me and who are a veteran of those wars, we have other things to do, and that may not be the most the greatest thing to do, but there are other things that we can do. There's phone calls to be made, there's petitions to be signed, donations, coming up with other ideas that are legal and how to torment the oligarchs and all this sort of thing. So I think this is a cautionary tale, like, do not burden yourself too much. Do what you can do. Just the fact of recruiting people to the cause, maybe those that didn't vote and that sort of thing. And, maybe saying you don't have to wait to get fired or, that sort of thing. So it's very careful, because this is how you can burn out and lose interest. So we have that. Okay, so this is crossed with the energy of people are just walking away from all the BS that they were told. And that is the first step, is to walk away and declare yourself walked away. I mean, I've seen videos of people throwing their red hats into the, backyard bonfire and all this stuff. So people are walking away. So this, I believe, will start to take the burden off of some people that are just doing everything. So they're walking away. So that's the thing, is it's time to grab them up. So underneath we have, oh yeah, because they've seen the truth. They are starting to see the truth in all of this. And, just as fast as that is this horrific administration has been working, the resistance can work equally as fast. And that's, because I think people have really been sitting in a stupor of shock for months now. So what this is telling me is that seeing people walking away from that old stuff is maybe it's spurring people on to take action. They don't necessarily have had to lose everything to do it, but this is telling me this is picking up momentum. And okay, we have a tower here. And to me, what this is telling me is that the administration and the oligarchy, they are running up against crises, because I don't think they ever figured that they were going to be losing people and that people would be reacting in that way. And I think the latest thing was that people being hauled off to El Salvador without even seeing if in fact they are the gang members or not, and not being given their rights, is that the fact that he has said, I didn't sign that thing. And I love how Tabitha Speaks Politics say that he threw Marco Rubio under the bus and then backed the bus up over him again. So I think a lot of you know exactly what I am speaking about. So I would say that they move fast, but there are tower moments, and we will experience some tower moments because they're not going to go down without a fight. But this is also going to bringing this, this is Sterling and some other people I have heard are saying this administration could be coming to an end as truth comes out about the votes and that sort of thing, that there will be a number of tower moments. So let's see what we have in the opposing this is they're getting backed up against the wall with the Seven of Wands. Not only are they getting backed up against the wall, but if this guy backs up too much, he's gonna fall out that window. So again, this comes up with all of these rods. It's like fire, and fire spreads quickly. This whole thing is taking on a life of its own, and they don't quite know what to do about this. I see figures like this, kind of looks like Vance a little bit, and that even if something were to happen to the guy at the top and he were to become, God help us, step into that position, I think he's just going to burn out and implode, because people hate him. Even as people in his own party, they hate him. So we've got that going on. It's in opposition. So in the past, which is rapidly becoming the present, we have, oh boy, I'm telling you, I shuffle the hell out of these cards. We have the past, and we have people being chained to the devil. Now this is the hot devil, because it was made to look really, really, really attractive. And this is the whole thing. This is the whole thing with the mafia. I go back to the Godfather. It's that's why it's a brilliant movie, because it does glamorize it, but it at the same time it doesn't, when you see the consequences that they pay. And it's that's pretty much so that this is the dead, the seductive devil, with these people willingly dancing. See, they're willingly dancing their way into the flames. So we've got the devil. And this is also, it's a card of addiction and codependence. Addiction is the name of the cabinet, okay? I mean, I don't need to go into details for entertainment purposes only. Department of Defense, being a recovering person, I know an alcoholic when I see one. And we've got the ketamine king that's with his chainsaw and all this crazy stuff. I will have to say, I have to address the codependence issue in, and I'm glad I have a chance to do this now. This comes along with, some very good readers, not dissing their reading skills, but certain readers on the internet that I've seen whose work, otherwise, is good and all of that, but who say, I'm not taking sides, I'm not partisan, and I'm starting to think of them as like the Neville Chamberlain psychics. I could understand it if this is 2012 and we're talking about Obama running against Romney. Yeah, that makes sense, but this is, I mean, I don't even need to, a felon, liable for sexual assault, taking everything away from everyone and then not taking response. How can you be nonpartisan? How can you be spiritual, claim to be spiritual, and just say there's not two sides to this story. Sorry. So I think some of them, there's some cracks in some of that. I mean, so what if you lose a couple of followers or subscribers? I mean, I don't get it. Okay, so so there's this massive codependence things and people wanting to hold on to their families and their this and their subscribers and yada, and try to be fair. I just say codependence. That's, this metaphysical codependence is like, I can almost understand more, like there are a number of them that are like total Trumpers. At least they're taking a stand. That's the whole thing. Okay, so we've had that in the past. Let's hope that's going to come to an end. Okay, so then we have on the conscious thoughts, we have the star. I have to cover up her, what. Okay. That a lot of this represents the United States. So this is kind of like we need to change our thinking just to save the country, because the glamorizing of fame and wealth, that's just taking us down a path of fascism, to be quite honest. And that's why I don't understand how people could be neutral. It doesn't make any sense to me. That's also about she's got the one foot on the land and the other in the water. So it's like we're all trying to keep that balance between our material world and our spiritual world. And that's been difficult, but I've made a real effort at it, and it's quite helpful for survival of these crazy times. So subconscious, we have the good old hovering swords, where people want this to end, but am I going to be stabbed in the back? I mean, waiting for those, is it going to be the job? Is it going to be the Medicare? Is it going to be this, that, or the other thing? So I think people are really, this is talking about the fear, but this is the subconscious thing that is actually turning people around to come to this point that I may not love the Democrats' policies, but I have to hold my nose to save the country. So this is what's happening. And I think that people who are so turned off by the socialism word realizes that their disability, their veterans, that's their socialistic concepts. But it's like Scandinavia countries. You can have that and still have capitalism, but it's a healthier capitalism. Okay. So in the present, we have, okay, this is what's going on, is that with these with these visiting of the red states, is maybe people starting to get a better understanding. I know that some of these people have been unforgivable in this god-awful vote, but this is kind of, and you can still be angry, but that, I mean, these, we need these people to overturn this, and it's kind of like, boom, there, there's the light is saying, you're getting screwed. Now do you realize you're getting screwed? You're getting screwed. And it's a very emotional thing. That's with the Two of Cups. It's a very, very emotional thing. It's like, it's either that or we're going to fall into this sea and drown. So that's what's going on now. This is what's turning people, is that that they need to lose something to kind of see the viewpoint of those that did not vote for him. So in the near future, we have, again, Three of Wands. This is a very, very important month of March. It's standing there and seeing that ship that they voted for is not going to make it through the storm. Also taking a look and seeing, wait till their business is hurt, because no one's going to come over this summer. No one's coming over, because, I mean, you'd be crazy to. So it's starting to dawn on them that they're not part of that ship with all the gold and the goodies, but that ship will be sunk by the storm and the weight of the gold on it. So there we go. This is really kind of the awakening sort of thing, like seeing the reality of all of this. Looking a bit further into the future, we have Queen of Pentacles in reverse. The realization that these people are putting our national security at risk. This fear is going to come out. You wait and see. So, in the outcome of this, I feel compelled. The outcome of this is the Hanged Man in reverse. That means that no more waiting around to see what's going to happen. You've done your thinking. You've gotten the different point of view, and it could come down to that. I think I've heard Dolly Parton say this years ago. Get off the cross. Someone needs the wood. I think it really indicates that that people may get off the pity pot and start doing something. So so this is really the really big turning around sort of a thing. Eventually there will be some happiness again, but that's in the future. I also see this sometimes. The Ten of Cups is, it's kind of like the end of the Hollywood fantasy world. That, this is the lesson learned, is that gangsters and kings and all this crap that we've been fed by Hollywood, it just isn't working anymore. It just is not. It's a big myth, and people get hurt. And I honestly believe some of the other readers say, wait till their babies die from measles. And, well, one woman obviously doesn't care, but that's a whole other story. I think she's from Texas or something like that. So, but, it comes down to losing their livelihood, their union maybe being busted, all these things that they thought were going to happen to other people. It's happening to them. So I think we're at a crossroads. We have to be careful to not become when this is broken up, and it looks like it's probably going to be. I'm with the other ones. I don't see him lasting the 4 years. A lot of us have said 2.5 years, which I said in the beginning, but the time with every disaster, I just see that shrinking. I'd see the time free shrinking. I don't know if I can be quite as optimistic, and I'd love it to be next month, but I know that March has been like, whoa, it's been something else. And I do agree with a lot of them that say you think March is something, wait till April. So it's building up, building up, building up. I just got a clairvoyant thing of the fireworks on the 4th of July. Now, I'm not saying that's when this is going to come to an end, but I'm going to say major, major, major fireworks. And I do get a sense that early July something major is going to happen, that if he's still around, there's going to be something that shakes it up. And I, like some of the others, I have gotten the vision of him being escorted out of there in one way or another by, like, I see Marines there. Okay, so at any rate, I do feel like, and I do like, you know me in movies, I do think we are going from the Godfather to Les Miserables, which was about not the French Revolution, but a later revolution that happened, I think, like in the 1820s in France. I should brush up on my history with that, but I think that I see the people in the alleys going, can you hear the people sing? And this is going to build up and build up. And it is building up. So, and I feel optimistic about it. And it's really important that we do keep our optimism and not go into despair, because that's what they want us to do. So with that, I will say goodbye, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.